My name is Nicole Pratt, and this is the special occasion speech for the Fundamentals of Public Speaking class. Throughout my life, I have constructed a sort of hall of fame upon the walls of my mind. The portraits of great men and women have been hung on those walls, people who have inspired me to accomplish greater things, to dream when hope seems lost, and to keep standing when every strength has failed. As I walk through this hall of fame and glance upon the faces of these individuals, it is the portrait of one woman who captures my attention, one woman whose story has been a source of unrelenting conviction and inspiration to me. Anne Judson was a Christian missionary to Burma in the 1800s. She has earned a place in my Hall of Fame because of the excruciating trials she suffered, the courage she demonstrated, and the faith in God which sustained her through it all. The information and the quotes I will share with you today were taken from an excerpt of the book The Advanced Guard of Missions by Clifford G. Howell. This excerpt can be found on the website wholesomewords.org. Anne was the wife of Adoniram Judson, and they were some of the first American missionaries to Burma. Throughout their years there, the Judsons faced sufferings beyond measure. Both Adoniram and Anne fell sick repeatedly, several times coming close to death's very door. They lost a daughter to the harshness of their lives. They faced persecution from the local government and were hindered from freely spreading their message. Only after 7 years of grueling labor did they have a single native come to faith in Jesus Christ. I would like to paint a picture for you of some specific hardships Anne suffered and of her faith and courage, which make her life an example for us. Excuse me. Even as the Judsons were pouring out their lives to reach the Burmese, Adoniram was seized by the authorities and thrown into a death prison. In that place of pain and hopelessness, he was kept over 10 months. Tortured by his captors and falling deathly ill, he found in Anne both a mediator and a comforter. Relentlessly, she sought for his release, and she was a faithful visitor at his prison every day. After months of this, Anne mysteriously disappeared for nearly 3 weeks. When she finally returned to her prison vigils, she carried in her arms a baby, whom she had borne all those agonizing months by herself. Eventually, Adoniram was forced to walk 8.5 miles in the heat to another prison. Faithfully, Anne followed after them, their baby in her arms and an adopted child beside her. The journey made her dangerously ill, and she was bedridden for 2 months. As she lay fighting the sickness, Adoniram was finally released from prison. This single ray of hope in the darkness was quickly threatened when they received word that he was to be returned to prison. Mrs. Judson, still confined to her sickbed, was unable to act on his behalf. In her journal from this time, she wrote about the assurance she had that her prayers to God would be answered, and she described herself as feeling quite composed. What faith this woman had in what could have been her darkest hour. God did answer her pleas, and Adoniram was spared the prison walls. Many stories like this could be recounted from Anne's life, but my reason for honoring this remarkable woman is not only the hardships she endured. Rather, I am inspired by what motivated her to live and eventually die in such circumstances. I believe that motivation is found in a quote from the letter Adoniram wrote to Anne's father when asking for her hand in marriage. He wrote the following: "I have now to ask whether you can consent to part with your daughter early next spring to see her no more in this world, whether you can consent to her departure to a heathen land and her subjection to the hardships and sufferings of a missionary life, whether you can consent to her exposure to the dangers of the ocean, to the fatal influence of the southern climate of India, to every kind of want and distress, to degradation, insult, persecution, and perhaps a violent death. Can you consent to all this for the sake of him who left his heavenly home and died for her and for you?" The passion of Anne Judson and the strength that compelled her to persist through unimaginable afflictions was her faith in Jesus Christ. Her life is a testimony for us today because she lived and moved and died for the sake of one who gave everything to save her from her sins. Thank you.